Greenwater Navy is terminology created to describe a naval force that is designed to operate in its nation's littoral zones and has the competency to operate in the open oceans of its surrounding region. It is a relatively new term, and has been created to better distinguish, and add nuance, between two long-standing descriptors, blue water navy and brown water navy. It is a non-doctrinal naval term used in different ways. It originates with the United States Navy, who use it to refer to the portion of their fleet that specializes in offensive operations in coastal waters. Nowadays such ships rely on stealth or speed to avoid destruction by shore batteries or land-based aircraft. The U.S. Navy has also used the term to refer to the first phase of the expansion of China's navy into a full blue water navy. Subsequently other authors have applied it to other national navies that can project power locally, but cannot sustain operations at range without the help of other countries. Such navies typically have amphibious ships and sometimes small aircraft carriers, which can be escorted by destroyers and frigates with some logistical support from tankers and other auxiliaries. Definitions: the elements of maritime geography are loosely defined and their meanings have changed throughout history. The U.S.'s 2010 Naval Operations Concept defines blue water as the open ocean, green water as coastal waters, ports and harbors, and brown water as navigable rivers and their estuaries. Robert Rubel of the U.S. Naval War College includes bays in his definition of brown water, and in the past U.S. military commentators have extended brown water out to 100 nautical miles from shore. During the Cold War, green water denoted those areas of ocean in which naval forces might encounter land-based aircraft. The development of long-range bombers with anti-ship missiles turned most of the oceans to green, and the term all but disappeared. After the Cold War, U.S. amphibious task forces were sometimes referred to as the Green Water Navy, in contrast to the blue water carrier battle groups. This distinction disappeared as increasing threats in coastal waters forced the amphibious ships further offshore, delivering assaults by helicopter and tiltrotor from over the horizon. This prompted the development of ships designed to operate in such waters the Zumwalt-class destroyer and the littoral combat ships. Modeling has suggested that current NATO frigates are vulnerable to swarms of 4 to 8 small boats in green water. Rubel has proposed redefining green water as those areas of ocean which are too dangerous for high-value units, requiring offensive power to be dispersed into smaller vessels such as submarines that can use stealth and other characteristics to survive. Under his scheme, brown water would be zones in which ocean-going units could not operate at all, including rivers, minefields, straits and other choke points. As the preeminent blue water navy of the early 21st century, the U.S. Navy is able to define maritime geography in terms of offensive action in the home waters of its enemies, without being constrained by logistics. This is not true for most other navies, whose supply chains and air cover typically limit them to power projection within a few hundred kilometers of home territory. A number of countries are working on overcoming these constraints. Other authors have started to apply the term Green Water Navy to any national navy that has ocean-going ships but lacks the logistical support needed for a blue water navy. It's often not clear what they mean, as the term is used without consistency or precision. It should be noted that a green water navy does not mean that the individual ships of the fleet are unable to function away from the coast or in open ocean. Instead, it suggests that due to logistical reasons they are unable to be deployed for lengthy periods, and must have aid from other countries to sustain long-term deployments. Also, the term Green Water Navy is subjective, as numerous countries that do not have a true Green Water Navy maintain naval forces that are on par with countries that are recognized as having Green Water Navies. For example, the German Navy has near the same capability as the Canadian Navy but is not recognized as a true Green Water Navy. However, the differences between blue water navies and brown or green water navies is usually quite noticeable. For example, the U.S. Navy was able to quickly respond to the disappearance of Malaysia Airlines Flight 370 and continue operations in the region with relative ease even though the search area covered the Indian Ocean. On the contrary, in 2005 the then Green Water Navy such the Russian Navy was unable to properly respond when its AS-28 rescue vehicle became tangled in undersea cables unable to surface. relying on the blue water Royal Navy to respond and carry out the rescue in time. Just as nations build up naval capabilities, some lose it. For example, the Austro-Hungarian Navy was a modern green water navy of the time. However, as the countries lost their coasts during World War I, their navies were confiscated and their ports became parts of Italy and Yugoslavia. The Axis powers lost naval capabilities after their defeat in World War II, with most of Japan's Imperial Navy and Germany's Navy being disarmed and their troop and ship numbers capped and monitored by the Allies. The collapse of the USSR also brought with it the collapse of the second largest naval force in the world, and the largest submarine force in the world. Although the Russian Federation made sure to inherit the most capable ships, passing most older models to successor states, it still lacked the logistical capabilities of the Soviet Navy, as it was no longer able to operate away from Russian shores for extended periods of time. Moreover, budget cuts forced large cuts in the submarine force, such as the retirements of the Typhoon-class submarine. As the Soviet Navy was built largely around submarine warfare, the losses in the submarine capability have adversely affected the capability of the newly formed Russian Navy as well. Navies described as being green water navies. Australia equals. The Royal Australian Navy is well established as a green water navy. The Navy sustains a broad range of maritime operations, from the Middle East to the Pacific Ocean, often as part of international or allied coalitions. The RAN operates a modern fleet, consisting of destroyers, frigates, conventional submarines, as well as an emerging amphibious and power projection capability based on the recent commissioning of HMAS Choules and the first of two new Canberra-class landing helicopter docks, HMAS Canberra. Amphibious capability a Euro 27,000-ton HMAS Canberra, and 16,190-ton HMAS Choules. Replenishment capability a Euro 18,221-ton HMAS Success and the 46,755-ton HMAS Sirius. Brazil equals. The Brazilian Navy has frequently been dubbed a Euro green water, a Euro unregistered trademark force by experts. The Navy is primarily focused on securing the nation's littorals and exclusive economic zone, but also maintains the capacity to operate in the wider South Atlantic Ocean. Since the early 2000s, the Brazilian Navy has contributed to a number of peacekeeping and humanitarian missions. Carrier capability a Euro 32,800 tons Sao Paulo. Amphibious capability a Euro 12,000-ton BAC. Replenishment capability a Euro 10,000-ton Almirante-Gasta Omotor and the 12,889-ton Mirage Cubed. Canada equals. According to the criteria as outlined in the 2001 publication, Leadmark, the Navy Euro unregistered trademark S strategy for 2020, the Royal Canadian Navy had met its description of a third-tier medium global force projection navy, a green water navy with the capacity to project force worldwide with the aid of more powerful maritime allies. In this context, the Canadian Navy ranked itself alongside the navies of Australia and the Netherlands. The Royal Canadian Navy operates across the globe, most recently actively supporting coalition forces in the Gulf of Aden, Libya and the Persian Gulf during Canada's 10-year commitment to the war in Afghanistan. The recent decommissioning of obsolete destroyers has left Canada without a credible modern air warfare capability. Combined with having no force projection sustainment capabilities as of 2015, this has rendered the RCN dependent on allies. The RCN is more akin to a brown water navy until new classes commission, such as the Queenston class from 2021, single-class surface combatant project from 2025, and the proposed amphibious assault ship project in the future. Israel equals. The Israeli Navy has previously deployed in offensive combat operations in the eastern Mediterranean region, in the littoral waters of Egypt and Syria during the War of Attrition and the Yom Kippur War. It retains the strategic edge over other navies in the eastern Mediterranean barring the Turkish Navy, and the presence of blue water carriers belonging to the blue water navies. Italy equals. The Italian Navy is a green water navy and maintains a broad spectrum of capabilities. It routinely deploys to the Indian Ocean and Persian Gulf as part of multinational anti-piracy missions such as Operation Ocean Shield and Operation Atalanta. The Italian Navy also deploys a carrier battle group in support of a number of NATO operations when needed. One such example was during Operation Enduring Freedom, where the carrier Giuseppe Garibaldi was deployed alongside British, French and American aircraft carriers. Carrier capability: a Euro 27,910-ton Cava and the 13,850-ton Giuseppe Garibaldi. Amphibious capability: a Euro 3 8,000-ton San Giorgio class LPDs. Replenishment capability: a Euro 13,400-ton Etna and two 8,000-ton Stromboli class replenishment ships. Japan. The Japan Maritime Self-Defense Force is considered to be a greenwater navy. Overseas JMSDF deployments include participation in the Combined Task Force 150, and an additional task force in the Indian Ocean from 2009 to combat piracy in Somalia. The first post-war overseas naval air facility of Japan was established next to Djibouti Mbulai International Airport. Helicopter carrier capability: a Euro 2 19,000-ton Hyaga-class helicopter destroyers and two 27,000-long-ton Izumo-class helicopter destroyers. Amphibious capability: a Euro 3 14,000-ton OESUMI-class tank landing ships. Replenishment capability: a Euro 2 25,000-ton Masu-class and three 15,000-ton Tawada-class. Netherlands. The Royal Netherlands Navy has been officially described as a third-tier medium global force projection navy or a green water navy with the capacity to project force worldwide with the aid of more powerful maritime allies. In this context, the Royal Netherlands Navy ranks alongside the navies of Australia and Canada, while the USN is a first-tier global blue water navy and Britain and France are second-tier blue water navies. For many years since the end of the Cold War, the Royal Netherlands Navy has been changing its role from national defence to overseas intervention. Amphibious capability: a Euro 12,750-ton HNLMS Rotterdam and the 16,800-ton HNLMS Johan de Witt. Replenishment capability: a Euro 27,800-ton Carol Dorman. South Korea. The Republic of Korea Navy is considered to be a green water navy. In 2011, the government authorized the building of a naval base on Jeju Island to support the new Dokdo-class amphibious assault ships. The base will also be capable of supporting joint forces with the U.S. Navy. A ski jump for the operation of VSTOL jet fighters is being considered for the second ship of the Dokdo class. The Korean government is considering to buy surplus Harriers as a possible interim for the F-35 Lightning II if they choose to operate VTOL aircraft at all. Amphibious capability: a Euro 18,800-ton OKS Dokdo. Replenishment capability: a Euro 3 9,180-ton KNG-class replenishment ships. Spain. The Spanish Navy is a green water navy and participates in joint operations with NATO and European allies around the world. The fleet has 54 commissioned ships, including 1 amphibious assault ship, 2 amphibious transport docks, 11 frigates and 3 conventional submarines. Amphibious carrier capability: a Euro 26,000-ton Juan Carlos I. Amphibious capability: a Euro 2 13,815-ton Glisser-class landing platform docks. Replenishment capability: a Euro 17,045-ton SPS Pasha ±0 and the 19,500-ton SPS Cantabria replenishment ships. Turkey. The Turkish Navy is accepted as having reached full green water capabilities in the mid-1960s and has participated in joint operations with NATO, the Israeli Navy and the Egyptian Navy throughout the Mediterranean Sea and Red Sea. The Turkish Navy operates 5 conventional submarines. See also, Blue Water Navy, Brown Water Navy, Maritime Geography. References